Now we'll talk about one of the statistical technique in market research, which is conjoint analysis. So we'll very briefly talk about conjoint analysis here, since conjoint analysis is itself a very uh, topic in depth, and covering this under this course would be not possible. So we'll briefly cover what is conjoint analysis and how the analysis is how the analysis is taken. So conjoint analysis is nothing but it is a statistical technique in market research which helps you in identifying like how different people or how people would value different attributes. So it would help you in quantifying which are the attributes which people would consider as influential or they're most influencing in decision making with respect to a whole range of attributes which are available. So it would help in understanding or determining what is the combination of this limited number of attributes, because this would help in influencing the because this would help the organization or the business in understanding what are the attributes which a customer is looking at vis-a-vis different attributes. So as you know, each customer or every customer would have his or her own taste, and the kind of attributes would be different. So that's why the conjoint analysis technique comes into picture, where what we do is we cluster different or segment the customers into different segments or clusters. Now, on in each segment or cluster of customers, we will find that the attribute in that each cluster has different attribute importance. So, for say cluster 1 2 3, the attribute importance from for some of the variables would be high. For another cluster, some there would be some different parameters which would rate high in the list of or make or break criteria for the decision making. So here we'll see the laptop market in India as a case study, where we'll briefly talk about how different parameters rank higher for some of the cluster or for some of the customer compared to other customer or other clusters where different parameters rank higher for them. And based on that, we name each cluster, and then this helps us in devising strategies like, okay, so this cluster segment has loves brand, so I would probably put in some branding message across my market from my marketing perspective to this set of customers, where we I'm trying to create my laptop as a brand, and then selling it. For other it would be price, so I would be sending some price sensitive documents or products which are less on the expensive side to this customer. So based on this, I'll be able to see what is my laptop market in India. So when I say laptop market in India, I want to convey that what different customers look at different attributes in buying or before buying a laptop, before they go for buying a laptop for themselves or for any other use. So content analysis is used in many of the social science and applied science, including marketing, product management, and operations research. So this is not a technique which is only applied to marketing, but yes, it is applied to other branches as well, which is product management and operations research. So if you see from the if I had to conduct a conjoint analysis, my survey response would look something like this, where four of my from the column from B to E indicates that these are the price option which I'm giving to the customer, that what is the price in which your laptop, or would you like to buy a laptop if you had to buy it today or tomorrow. So this is the right, and if you see the response is quite different from what we initially saw in the market research, because here we are trying to distribute whatever response a customer gives into we are trying to distribute the score across all the values or all the options which we give to the customer. So the respondent has currently option of laptop of price 50,000, 40,000, 30,000, 20,000. So I'm trying to distribute the importance of this answers across all this. So if you take the sum of all the four options under price, you see that the sum is zero. That is, I'm trying to distribute the utility or the importance of all these answers across it, so that my mean utility or the average is zero. Similarly, I am doing it for all the variables where I am asking question with respect to Windows 7, Windows 8, Linux operating system, FreeDOS. And if you see again here, for all the for all the operating system, my average or sum would be zero for operating system. So this is how a conjoint analysis survey response is taken. This is with respect now with the demographic information of the respondent, because conjoint analysis is not something which is only done with respect to the product characteristic. It is also takes into consideration demographic aspect, because remember we talked earlier that based on the cluster there are different attributes which are identified which rank higher for that cluster vis-a-vis for other clusters where if other variable would rank or other parameter would rank higher for them. So we try and capture different demographic information, that is age, gender, city of residence, and so on. So if you see at the conjoint analysis, report or the answers or what we get from it is, we get a mean importance of each attribute from all the respondents. So if you see, the processor has the highest attribute or the mean importance with respect to the respondents I have collected response from. So you see, among all the respondents which are currently there in the survey, they rank processor as the highest attribute which they look while buying a laptop. And then we see that the overall mean utility function, like, so this is obvious, like if the price would increase, my mean utility function would decrease, which is usually the case because consumers or most of the customers are price sensitive. And if you see the operating system, Windows 8.1 has the highest mean operating or mean utility value. Similarly, for other attributes like processor, we see i7 has the highest utility. For brand, we see Apple has the highest. So for different attributes, we see that we calculate the mean utility function. Next, then we decide the number of clusters we want my respondents to be clusterized into or segmentized into. So you see, I have formed here 5 clusters where from for each cluster I'm then trying to see for each cluster what is the mean utility or the value importance value in each of this cluster. So you see, for price we have different importance value for operating system, for processor, for brand and RAM and so on. So for each cluster I'm trying to see what is the importance at it, and then I'm trying to clusterize or segment this under importance of attribute cluster wise. So with respect to each cluster, I'm trying to see what is the importance of price, what is the importance of operating system, and so on. Based on this value, what I'm trying to project to the laptop manufacturing company or the company who wants to launch a new laptop or produce a new laptop in the market is that the customers or respondents who are in cluster rank 1, they see price as one the important attribute. The customers who are in cluster number 2, they see brand as an important attribute. The customers who are in clusters 3, they see hard disk and so on. So there are among within each cluster we try and rank all these attributes so that we know that which attribute is the most influencing in each of these cluster. So based on this, we name the each of the clusters. As we saw, the customers in cluster 1 were price sensitive, or price was an important attribute, hence we took price sensitive, or we named that cluster as price sensitive. The second was with brand holds the highest importance, so we named it as brand oriented. Similarly, we have named different other clusters based on the attribute which they think is very important. So we have named third as moderate tech lovers, four as tech plus brand oriented, and fifth as tech lovers. So based on the attribute importance which they see, we have calculated. The next set, what we do is we calculate what is the analysis of clusters with respect to with respect to demographic variable, which is the most influencing factor which is contributing to my buying behavior of the laptop in the market. So this is how a conjoint analysis is done, and then we look at the relationship between demographic variables and segments. So the segments which are formed, that is brand importance and different clusters, we see how many of the clusters or which of the clusters have a which of the variables do influence from these clusters, and accordingly name those clusters. And this helps us in identifying which customer or which cluster segment should I target, and accordingly my marketing message should be cleared and restricted to a particular set of customer rather than throwing out a marketing material or throwing a marketing message to everyone where I would be wasting most of my marketing research.